Hello, welcome to another Tweedy Outdoors video. I'm on the edge of Brighton. It's a bit of an odd place to start a video, but hopefully you can just about see the sea down there. This is Brighton Racecourse just here. And I'm just out for a daytime walk today. I'd hoped to try and fit in a wild camp this weekend, but other things got in the way. So just a daytime walk. I've decided I'm going to walk from Brighton, or the edge of Brighton, here we are, to Lewes on an old track called the Juggs Road, and we'll talk a bit about that track on the way. So hopefully that should take us over the top of the Downs en route, and just up above Kingston near Lewes, and hopefully I'm going to find a nice spot to make some lunch as well. So join me if you will for a pleasant spring day stroll from Brighton to Lewes along an old track with some lunch in the middle. That's Warren Road there, and splitting off here is Juggs Road, which is what the Juggs Road seems to be called at the Brighton end. I hope you can hear me over the wind. I'm probably a little overdressed for the weather. It's currently saying 15 degrees on my phone, and it's glorious blue sky and sunny, but the wind is keeping things cool a bit and probably making it hard for you to hear me. Sorry about that. The Juggs Road. So this is an ancient track, well, ancient, I don't know, old track, historic track that goes from Brighton to Lewes, and we are led to believe that this was once used by fishwives, I think is the term, the wives of fishermen, to carry the fish presumably caught in or around Brighton from the sea inland to market at Lewes. And there are various theories on where the name Juggs comes from. That may refer to the baskets that the fish were carried in. It may refer to the fishermen themselves in Brighton. I'd seen one definition that the Brighton fishermen were occasionally referred to as jugs. There is apparently a method of fishing called jug fishing, and of course there's a method of cooking whole animals called jugging. The jugged hare springs to mind from that Monty Python sketch. So we're not exactly sure why it's called the Juggs Road, but it's something to do with ladies predominantly, as we are led to believe, carrying fish from the sea inland to Lewes. Okay, I think I have properly escaped the outskirts of Brighton now. Still a bit sort of aware of the existence of civilization. There's a road down there, and quite a lot of people on this track at the moment. We've just passed a car park, so hopefully that will thin down a bit, but you know, pretty nice. Sorry for the jerky camera work. Pretty nice views. Views have opened up to my right here as I got to the brow of this hill. See down to the chalky cliffs over there just about. According to the OS map, we are now on the Juggs Road as opposed to the Drove Road, which was for a short section also called Drove Avenue. It's a track of many facets, beautifully lined with cowslips. Very fond of these. I know you get them everywhere, but they always remind me of the South Downs this sort of time of year. Oh, apparently I'm on the South Downs way. That's a surprise. I knew I would get to it at some point today. I didn't think it would be quite yet. 50 years. Congrats, the SDW. One of those nice coming over the brow of a hill moments. Splendid view down to Lewes. We've got Kingston in the foreground there. The windmill between Kingston and Lewes, and the chalky cliffs beyond Lewes. I think that part of Lewes is in fact called Cliff. Firmly on open access land now, so I'm going to hunt around here for a spot to sit, have a picnic, cook some lunch in fact. Fairly ancient looking grove of hawthorn trees here. I wonder how far I can actually get into this practically. This looks nice and quiet. I think this is somewhere around here, probably a good candidate. Not exactly setting up camp, but I just brought along a small tarp to sit on. Do me. like a picnic blanket, really, isn't it? For today's lunch, fake steak. This is the same one that I had when I was on that trip in somewhere else in the South Downs. I will put a link to, is it going to be that side or is it, I never know, still. Fake steak, and thought, you know, for a change from the usual sort of, I don't know, potatoes or whatever as an accompaniment, I thought I'm going to give polenta a go. This seemed like quite a good idea for a quick camping kind of carb. Cornmeal, I think is its other name, and this is the quick cook variety. I think that's quite important because the regular stuff can be sort of a half an hour or something to cook. So also put some broad beans in the water. I love broad beans, and I don't know, very approximate measurements. It says about sort of four portions of water for one portion, 4 parts water to 1 part polenta, something like that. So I don't know. We'll boil that and maybe try and vaguely work out what 100 grams of polenta is, maybe a bit less. Okay, the billy is on to boil. For those of you who haven't seen, I've actually started a new channel. It's Wine with Tweedy. It's a sort of spin-off of this one where I'm just doing shorter, more wine-focused videos. Which of course brings me on to today's wine. This is a very, very Floydian Gevrey Chambertin. This is Domaine René Leclerc. It is I Leclerc from Hello Hello, and maybe I'll try link that in whichever corner that ends up in. There is an episode of Floyd on France where he goes to Burgundy and cooks and visits the cellars of René Leclerc, and is in fact shown around the cellars, I think, by René himself. So what I really like about this is you get this brief glimpse of the labels in that episode of Floyd on France, which must be from the 1980s, and yet the labels look almost exactly the same then as they do today on these René Leclerc bottles. I've had a different vintage, possibly a different appellation, possibly a you know, specific vineyard rather than the general Gevrey Chambertin from René Leclerc before. Found it sort of quite old-fashioned in style, interestingly. A bit more sort of, you know, kind of robust, rugged, and a bit less of the kind of sort of perfumed, dainty, elegant type of Gevrey Chambertins I normally like. This is a 2017 vintage. I think the other one was a 2015 vintage, so I have yet to try this. Quite a difficult thing to get hold of as well. I bought this from Christopher Keeler Fine Wine Services, who, as far as I can tell, are pretty much the only supplier in the UK selling this. It mostly seems to go to America and Japan for whatever reason. So anyway, enough babbling. I shall open this up and let's give it a taste. Usual glass with me. What do we think? So you know, initially, yeah, once again, it's a bit sort of relatively savoury, not sort of immediately very fresh and fruity or very perfumed either, but nice acidity. Interesting balance there of being sort of savoury but also having good acidity to it. There is fruit there, definitely. It's just sort of expressed rather differently. I'll come back to it in a moment and perhaps revise my my thoughts on this. But okay, perhaps a bit safer to do that off the hob. Very, very approximate. So it's supposed to be something like 1 part polenta to 4 parts water. And it will thicken up, I guess. Let's give that a stir and see how it feels. Yeah, well, it really does swell up. I'm going to get a bit of butter in there, partly for flavour, partly to try and stop it sticking. I'm going to let the polenta sit for a bit, maybe. It's supposed to have 3 minutes, but it was just it was bubbling so ferociously that I don't know, a bit difficult to control. But I'll let that sit for a while and see how that is, see how it's going. Meanwhile, a bit of butter in the frying pan, and I'm going to get the fake steak in there. Waistcoat cam here. Is that going to work? In goes the fake steak. It's having a nice sizzle in the pan there. Lovely smell of sautéed butter and peppercorns and all that stuff. Going to declare the fake steak done. So it's plating up time, which means just, unnecessarily spooning some of the polenta into the pan, just so we can see one single cohesive dish. But that will probably actually be quite nice to soak up some of the butter in the pan. Right, there's the finished dish. Fake steak atop a bed of polenta and broad beans with, I don't know, buttery peppercorns and stuff. I would have liked to have propped the wine glass up there for effect, but look, it's sort of just seems to want to fall over, so I think that will have to go back in the boot. Taste test time. Sorry, I'm at a bit of an angle. I went with salt in the end rather than the soy sauce. Yeah, and when it's covered in salt, the polenta's pretty good. Yeah, I've had polenta before a few times. I've always sort of thought, I'm not quite sure I get it, but it's a nice change actually. Now I think I might be warming to it. I get myself a knee cloth. Is that a thing? Shall we try a bit of the fake steak? See a close-up of that. Sorry, jerky camera work. Fake steak time. Let's, Keith Floyd used to say a big fat loving close-up. Clive, was he talking to? Who's the cameraman? I can't remember. Perhaps they had more than one. This is a German company makes this one. I think it's pretty good. It's, you know, salty. There's a lot of pepper in there. But, you know, that really carries it, I think. Well, I'm pretty pleased with that. Excuse me, talking whilst eating. It's a little bit different. I think polenta's a good idea. I would use that again. Definitely warming to the René-Leclerc Gevrey Chambertin. A bit more cherry coming out now. It's had a bit of a chance to breathe. It goes very nicely with the fake steak and the polenta. Cheers is to Keith Floyd and to alfresco cooking. Right, I am leaving my little spot in the woods now. Hashtag leave no trace. Maybe not the most sensible path to emerge from the woods. A bit brambly. I seem to have chosen an unnecessarily difficult route down the hillside to reconnect with that track down there. But look at those views. Back on one of those chalk tracks. This is not actually yet the Juggs Road. I think I meet that little way down here. This is a very South Downs thing to me, these in this kind of weather almost blindingly white chalk tracks. There's some sort of earthworks here or something. These almost look like barrows on the side of the hill going down into Kingston. I have a sudden urge to sit here among the cowslips. This perhaps would have been a nicer spot to sit and have lunch with this view. I always wondered, do you think people actually care about you using a camp stove in the daytime. Is anyone going to call you out on that? Perhaps not. What a beautiful spot. Here among the cowslips, looking down to Kingston near Lewes, and then Lewes beyond that, the windmill over there, the chalk of the downs, almost sort of hazy with the spring warm sunshine. Absolutely delightful. Cowslips. Aren't they lovely? They're so sort of unassuming or something. Back on the Juggs Road now, and just about coming into the outskirts of Kingston near Lewes, not to be confused with Kingston on Thames or Kingston, the capital of Jamaica. Is Kingston the capital of Jamaica? I think it is. Taking a quick diversion in Kingston because I have to remember there was a nice pub here named after the track, the road. It's just called the Juggs.
Yeah, that's all very nice.
Don't see a lot of those. I also don't know what it is. When in Sussex, there really is only one beer you can go for, Harvey's Sussex Best, which is a spectacular pint. It's malty and brown and not a whiff of grapefruit in sight. Cheers. Leaving the pub now, a pub stop that was barely justified, other than the fact that it's such a nice pub that it seems criminal to pass through Kingston near Lewes without calling in. This is where I'm rejoining the Juggs Road. A little sign, look, with some coronation bunting on it. It's the Ashcombe windmill over there. Perhaps we might get a slightly closer view a bit further on the track. Well, that might be the closest we get. So this is the section of the Juggs Road from Kingston to Lewes. It's not particularly high up here, but you do get a good panoramic view of the downs. Perhaps that's too far away, but there's some JCB manure shoveling action going on down there. You can really smell it from here. Narrower section of the Juggs Road now, a bit more enclosed, sort of field boundary. Is this still interesting? Not sure. I think we're now on the outer outskirts of Lewes now. Terrible camera angle. Can you see? That's the last time, I think. Well, perhaps I could have gone the other side. It would have been a bit easier to see. The last time we shall see the Juggs Road mentioned. This is where it ends. Excuse me, Blossom, in Lewes. Let's go the slightly longer way round to the Lewes Arms via the castle, which is mainly up there, but there's this rather impressive gatehouse here. Good views from the castle, but alas, don't have time today. Just enjoy this bit. Well, here we are, one of my favourite pubs of all time. This is Harvey's, of course. It's just in a fuller's glass, but the Lewes Arms. I don't know what it is about this place. It just has some sort of magical quality. And I've never seen it this quiet. Practically abandoned. Well, that concludes today's walk. I'm now at Lewes Station. That was very pleasant, actually. I think a little bit different from the usual South Downs way. I believe that train is going to take me home. A little bit different from the usual South Downs way, but you know, still gets a decent amount of downland Starts at the sea, ends the other side of the downs. I think that's a good walk. 3 or 4 hours from Brighton. Quite nice. So thank you very much for watching. I hope some of that was interesting, something or other, and I'll see you on the next one.